Good morning. How you all doing this morning? It's a bit humid. You can see the stuff on my glasses. Hopefully you guys are having a great day wherever you may be, and if this is like the start of your day, hopefully you have a great day as your day goes on. So I am out here at the college, and I wanted to talk about Superview and why I don't use it anymore. At least I don't record in it. Now, I'll publish out some stuff that'll have Superview, but I don't record in it. So I kind of want to talk about why that is, and then I want to show you a little bit about how I do my editing and how I get Superview when I don't have it, and cases when I don't use it, and all that kind of stuff. So I've talked about Superview before, and I even have a video on a way to do that in Davinci Resolve, and that'll be linked down in the description. You can go see that if you want to use Davinci Resolve. This is going to be focused on FinalCut. I don't know if this plugin that I use, I don't know if it's available for anything else or not, but anyways, it'll be linked down there too. So let's get to flying a little bit, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the where's, whys, and what's, and all that stuff. Superview, why I don't record in, and all that fun stuff. Alright, let's get to flying. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about Superview and why I'm not using it. So let me set this guy right there. That's kind of cool. Alright, so the main reason that I don't use it is flexibility. So when you use Superview, you are kind of locked into Superview, and undoing Superview is, I don't think I've seen anybody even try it. So it's not going to end up with good results because it's already doing manipulation to the image. It's doing stretching and whatnot. And so you're going to get some serious distortion if you try to undo it. So that's the main reason, flexibility. So for instance, if you've ever done plane chasing or chasing any type of vehicle or whatever, and you recorded in Superview, you probably have found that you're not as close to the subject in the view as you wanted to be. And that's, you know, it's just kind of the nature of a wide angle lens, but even more so whenever you do Superview. It kind of makes things seem farther away than they actually are. So if you don't record in Superview, then in post you can kind of zoom in a bit in your video just by the nature of the 4:3 converting into 16:9. You know, you're basically cutting off top and bottom, and you keep that middle area, and you can adjust that middle area where you want it to be. So it lets you have a lot of flexibility there. So that's reason number one. Reason two that I don't record in Superview is I can always add it in post. So, and I can tweak it to be the kind of Superview that I want. So if I want it to be, you know, more pronounced or less pronounced, I can do that in post. Whereas if you record in straight Superview, while it's a very nice looking rendition of the 4:3 to 16:9 aspect ratio, sometimes you want to do things a little differently. Sometimes you don't want the excessive warping. Sometimes you want less. Maybe sometimes you want more. I don't know. So it gives you the ability to do that. That's reason number two. And final reason that kind of combines the other two is Real Steady Go. So if you want to use Real Steady Go, your best option is to shoot in 4.3 and then let it do its thing, and then it'll result in a 16:9 image. Now you can use Superview and Real Steady Go, but you get really exaggerated distortion effects. Now maybe that's what you want, and if that's what you want, then by all means go for it. But your best option is to shoot in 4.3, let it do its thing, and you get much better results. And I guess actually a fourth reason, when shooting in 4.3 and doing some of these conversions in post, like if you want to get Superview in post or you want to use Real Steady Go, if you have props slightly in view in your footage whenever you are shooting that way, shooting in 4.3 and then using like Real Steady Go if you're shooting that kind of footage, or doing your Superview conversion in post, you a lot of times eliminate those. Now, not always. Like if you'll see in mine, you'll still see the props in view, but you can eliminate them. Particularly with the Real Steady Go, it'll end up eliminating them because it's doing a little bit of cropping. But so I guess that's another reason. You can do that in Superview too, but again, because it's already done the distortion, it makes things even worse. You can even take your 4.3 footage and just do a basic, what's called a fill. Like in FinalCut, it's got three options. It's got basically like none, it's got fit, and it's got fill. Fit basically makes your footage fit the aspect ratio. So if you're shooting in 4.3, you end up with bars on the left and right. And if you do none, of course, you get the exact same results. And if you do fill, then basically what it does is it crops the top and the bottom of your 4.3 image and turns it into a 16:9 image. And that's really the best part of the footage. Now, if you're doing a lot of acrobatic stuff, then doing that, in my mind, looks a little weird. In certain cases, it's all right. But in my mind, it looks a little bit weird. It makes it more like you're flying blind almost, like stuff comes out of nowhere on you sometimes in that. Whereas if you don't do that, you can kind of see some of the stuff coming a bit, you know, at the edges a little more. For a viewer, it's a little better. But if you're doing like chase footage, or you're doing like, you know, this like slow cruisy type stuff, just doing the fit actually looks pretty good, and it gets rid of a lot of the distortion. But again, it depends on what you're looking for there, and that's why I like 4.3. That flexibility, man. That's the main reason right there. I started with it because of Real Steady Go, but then after doing it for a while, I've got to where I like the flexibility. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link down in the description here for the plugin that I use. And when I get back to the house this evening, when I'm doing some editing, I'm going to add that here at the end. I'm going to show you how my process works and how this works in Final Cut. And then you can apply it to whatever editing software you're using, if possible. I don't know. Anyways, if you're using Final Cut, you'll appreciate this. So, and it might give you some ideas for whatever software you're using. So I'm going to head back to the house, and I will see you guys there, and we'll do some editing of some of this footage here, playing around with it a little bit, and you can see how my workflow works and what I do and all that fun stuff. So I will see you guys there.
3 days later.
Okay guys, here we are in Final Cut, and I'm going to show you how I take my 4.3 footage and I turn that 4.3 footage into Superview, or something that's similar to Superview, and also a couple other options that you have whenever you're doing this. If you don't want Superview but you want to take your 4.3 footage and use it in a 16:9 project. So I've got in our timeline here, I've got the clip of the car where I was chasing the car. I believe I've put this in a previous video that you guys have seen. If you haven't seen that, there will be a link to that in the description down below. Go watch that. Anyways, so we're going to take this footage here, and we're going to show you a couple ways that you can do it. The first is you put your footage in there and you do absolutely nothing. You get these wonderful black bars that are on either side, and boom, you are done. That's probably not what you want. So what we're going to do is show you a couple ways that you can address that. The first is a fairly simple way that you can do it. You can just take and you can scale on the x-axis, and you can say, okay, let's make that 133%. And Boom, you're done. Look at that. Oh, the truck's nice and fat now. That's probably not what you want, but that is an option. So you can see how that looks here. You come in here, and I mean, it's not terrible. It's kind of what most of the action cams do. They don't really give you super view. They basically stretch the x-axis, and that's kind of what you get. It's not terrible, but again, it's not probably not what you want. So instead of stretching just the x-axis, you can stretch both to 133. And there you go. Now you have basically the same thing as choosing the fill option, which we'll go over in a second in Final Cut. Now, you can see that it's position-wise, it's not necessarily the best, but you know that is an option. We can adjust the position here with the Y, and we can slide that up a little bit here, and you can see now we've got more of the vehicle in view, because basically what we did was we stretched both ways, which cropped it top and bottom, and then we basically just shifted our view down on that so that we see more of the bottom area where we were actually recording. And you can see, there you go. That allows you to kind of position your camera so that you keep your subject in view. And there's some ways, I'm not real sure how to do those, so I'm not getting those in this video here. I'm sure there's some tutorials on it. I know there are tutorials on doing that in Resolve that you can actually track. So you can set a subject that you want and then let the software actually track that, and it'll actually do the panning and stuff on your video, which is pretty nice. And that's a nice way to do that, which is a big benefit to doing 4.3. If you do Superview, you really can't do that. You're going, I mean, you can do it, but what's going to end up happening is because it's stretched, it's not going to look right. So if you're doing chase stuff, I highly recommend using 4.3 and then doing basically this fill method and then positioning your view so that your subject is in view the best for the whole flight, and that keeps you from stretching things too much, and you know, it looks really good. But that's not the reason we're here. We're here to talk about Superview. So doing Superview with Final Cut is pretty straightforward. So we're going to set this back here to 100%, and we're going to set our position back to where we were by default. And we're going to set this thing up to do Superview. And there's basically a couple of things that you need to do, and then you drop your plugin in and you set 2 values in your plugin and you are done. So it's pretty straightforward. The first thing that we want to do is we want to do scaling. Yeah, scaling. But we're going to scale it so that it's smaller. And we're going to scale it down to 77%. And the reason that we do this is that when we drop the plugin in there and it's doing its magic, we don't want to crop too much of the video. We want to keep as much of the video that we recorded in view whenever we're done. And by scaling it down to 77%, this allows us to do that. And you'll see why here in a minute. So we scale it to 77%, but then in order that it thinks that everything is 100%, we are going to create a compound clip. You know, call this whatever you want. I'm going to call it Superview Test. And the result is this clip now scale is at 100%, even though it's actually 77%. It's kind of an interesting effect. But now when we drag our plugin, this Alex4D plugin, again, that's linked down in the description. You can get it from the website there. You'll see these curved edges here, because what this plugin does, this plugin is designed to get rid of the fisheye effect and basically make everything nice and straight again. But because it's doing that, we can actually use that to our benefit to get a Superview effect. So we've dropped it on there, and we're going to set 2 values. We're going to set our scale X now to 156, and we're going to set our scale Y to 124, and we're done. And you see that we did lose just a smidgen of the window there from where we were at before, but not very much. And now we have a nice Superview effect with the vehicle not being distorted, and everything on the edges gets distorted out, just like in Superview, and you got a really nice effect there. So that is basically all there is to it. Now, if you're using something else like Resolve, there's methods for doing that. I have a video on doing Superview in Resolve that's got pretty good reviews. I even had Wild Willie FPV send me a message and tell me that it was probably the best method that he's seen. It's kind of ironic because I used some ideas that I got from him on using Resolve to get rid of props in view to actually create a Superview effect. So it's kind of interesting that he really liked that. But anyways, if you want, that's linked down there in the description. The link for this plugin is down there in the description. And anything else that's of relevance will be linked down there in the description. And until next time, guys, you guys have a great day and never stop flying. Peace.